Now, the majority of his 33-year career has been spent in Merseyside, but he's also worked for Sussex Police and Cumbria Constabulary. And he's got extensive command experience, including firearms, public order, counter-terrorism, football and conference policing. He returned to Merseyside at the start of the month, vowing to prioritise trust and neighbourhood policing. Over to you.
Thanks very much indeed, and thanks for the invite. It's great to be with you today. It's Warren that invited me last year, actually. I couldn't make it, so I've got up here today to be with you, so I'm really grateful. It's a great, real opportunity. My presentation is sort of dumbing it down, in truth. Yesterday you had Professor Larry Sherman, you had Gavin Stevens. I'm sandwiched between Sir Andy Marsh, Michelle Skeer and Danny Shaw, so it's a sort of U-bend, really. We dip down and we come up for the rest of the day. So anyway, my presentation is really, it's a presentation I've given in Cumbria as the Chief Constable and the Deputy there, and also in Merseyside, and also for DDAT. It's very, very similar. It's very similar thoughts. And basically, it's the connection between, morale and leadership, the importance of morale in a very, very challenging operational environment at the moment. It's never going to get easier. We seem to say this every year, don't we, how difficult it is. But actually, the ability of leaders to penetrate the layers of the organisation so that people at an operational level really feel that leaders have their back, are interested in the challenges they have, and can remove hindrance stresses and blockages. That's essentially the idea of the presentation. So the pretext was, can you come because you've got building, supporting and protecting the workforce and outstanding in Cumbria, which I'm very proud of. It's Michelle Skeer's Chief Constable. It's Michelle's was leading the force at the time. I was supporting Michelle as the Deputy. You can't get that grade without actually being able to penetrate the layers, because the focus groups will provide HMIC with the information about how they view their leadership. So that actually those messages have to filter through. So they've got to go through all the ranks right to the operational level. And actually, it's a moment in time. I think where you get to a position where it's outstanding. Whether it's outstanding now, I couldn't say. Certainly 8 weeks ago when I left Cumbria, I wouldn't be as confident getting outstanding at that stage, because there are difficult decisions to take during the course of a policing sort of annual cycle. It changes, it never stands still. When you're going to make difficult decisions, people react badly sometimes and find it difficult to deal with change, all part of the challenge. So that's why I'm here. Warren said, talk us through how you got outstanding, and basically it's my take and my observations on that relationship between leadership and morale. And I suppose last night, I wasn't sure I was going to tell you this story, but I'll tell you this story. When I hear a certain police force, I always think of the police, the PSA, and sort of the support they gave me. So I was on the command course in 2017, didn't realise it, had cancer. I was sort of disintegrating really on the course and didn't understand why until after. Anyway, it was the final night, it was the dining in night, and my wife couldn't attend because she was away skiing with the school. She'd taken the school away. So I took my eldest son, Alex, and we walked in there, and I was sort of thinking a bit hard going in with your son rather than sort of your partner type of thing. So we walked in, Dickie Bows, all the rest of it. And I saw a colleague walk in with a young lady and thought, oh my word, I won't say the name. It's great to see somebody who's brought one of the kids with them as well, it's just not me. At which point, he said, Rob, I'd just like to introduce you to my wife. At which point, I lost the gift of speech for about 5 seconds. I just couldn't move my lips. We went over to the table. I was sort of hunched over, really, and all I could hear my son saying was, wow, Dad. No, Dad, wow, just wow. And he got to the table, he pulled his chair out, sat down, and he put his head down, and he was still saying, wow, no, Dad, wow. Wow. I said, son, could you actually stop saying wow? It's really disconcerting. But anyway, that was a difficult period of my time. So you get Willy Wonka's golden ticket from the Street Command course, and then you're wondering whether you're going to even work in the police again because of illness. So I had a problem with sepsis twice, interseptic shock, which you'll know is obviously pretty serious. And then you learn lots of things about your organisation, well-being, morale, how do you feel? And at that time, you find out how your friends were, you find out how good the organisation is, And I had a chief constable called Andy Cook, who backed me to the hilt. He was fantastic, as was the Police Superintendents Association. So my thanks to you. Without your support, I probably wouldn't be in the police, never mind here today. So I'll start off on a positive, and I'm really grateful. Right, challenges facing police, and you've probably heard this 1,000 times. Finance and the viability of forces. You can see this coming out about this idea about mega forces. Really, really difficult. And then political, reform, safer streets. It's a more interventionist government for the best reasons. Who wouldn't want the aspirations, the Safer Streets Initiative? Going to be difficult to get it, and we can't do without technology and data underneath. I'm the national lead for data, so digital data and technology. I chair the coordination committee. I'm the national CSIRO. So I'm not from a technical background, but I am a believer. I am an absolute believer in terms of technology. And if we're going to take away some of the pressures away from our frontline staff, police officers, police staff, technology is the key. The redaction tools, AI, robotics, all fabulous opportunities. And I would commend, as the PSA, the digital conference, which will take place in October in Liverpool. What are the chances? So if you can, try and get your footprint there. It's really important in terms of digital leadership, digital literacy. I think the PSA needs to be loud and proud of that one. If you can, it'd be great to see you there. Community cohesion and protest, workforce pressures, peel inspections. I know Michelle's coming up to speak very shortly. The same gradings are there. It's just that, broadly speaking, those peel inspection gradings are going backward. It feels more difficult to achieve. And, of course, public confidence, I don't need to go on about that. You know all about that, as much as I ever will. Far be it for me to ever look at that top picture and ever equate that to the picture now and where we come from, particularly in a force like Merseyside, with the challenges Merseyside have gone. But it always feels as though you're going into more choppier waters. It really feels like open water. It feels like a more uncertain world. It feels real, community tensions and I think the policing is going to be challenged even more so over the coming years, particularly with the financial challenges as well, which are absolutely huge. Couple of clips there. You've seen that. I'm not going to go. There's more slides, so I'm going to race through that. It's just amplifying the points we just made on the previous slide. So morale. You can see there the figures there. You'll have just talked about this many times, but you've got the Federation statistics. 88% of respondents felt morale was low or very low in their force. 9 out of 10 virtually, 9 out of 10 people, that's a real concern. And then your own PSA, 34% of respondents had low or personal motivation levels. It goes on straight through. And the State of Policing report, Sir Andy Cook came out last week, and that talks about the same thing. It talks about morale. It talks about leadership. It talks about all those issues. So it's a clear and sort of apparent problem that we've got to tackle somehow. There's no point us lamenting about the external pressures, because some of them we can't challenge or change. We've got to work with what we've got, and that's about find a way in our own organisations. So I'm going to make some comments. There's anonymous quotes from sort of superintendents, chief inspectors and above, and police staff members. There'll come in some slides to follow. I always use these, and I'll explain how in a minute. But before I sort of have a light-hearted poke at some of the comments that have been made previously, let's have a light-hearted poke at me. This is me. This is a quote about me. The first one, I think it was 1993, I went for the special course, the accelerated promotion as it was. And the response was, this officer's knowledge of Home Office circulars is positively encyclopedic. I do have any concerns about his ability to lead anyone at any time. I've got that. I'm going to frame that and put it on the wall. But we all have our challenges, don't we? And we've all got to sit back and learn. The gates don't open for us straight away. We've got to find a way and think how we impact on other people and our own leadership style. It's about understanding where we are and how we can influence. I went for the feedback, the verbal feedback. I went to see an ACC there. I was standing outside the room about 45 minutes after the very brief meeting was due to start. I was called in by the ACC. He said, Constable Carden, do you know why you've not been supported for the special course? So I was thinking about it. I said, sir, is it because I'm not special? Constable Carden, you're absolutely right. You're not special. You're not special, so you're not on the special course. Great to meet you. The door's there. And that was it. So I've got those quotes. That's the way it was then. That's the way it is. And you reflect on that and you find your own way. But the thing is, the lions led by donkeys. We're not in a position to ask police officers and police staff to assess people in the public at every opportunity for stop and search, making assessments, whether they search them or not. You can't expect them to do that and judge people and members of the community and not expect them to judge us, okay? Every move you make, every time you do a briefing, we've got to think about how did you leave them when you leave the room? Because they're looking at you all the time. It is implausible in the extreme that they can switch off and think, I'm only going to look at the public. They're looking to their leaders. Have those leaders got their back? And that's whether I've succeeded. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But that's the sort of lens I've tried to look through. So, Napoleon's on the right, obviously. The fellow on the left is Colonel Richard Kemp. Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iraq. And he was talking on a podcast about Ukraine I listened to far too much. And in the early stages of the sort of the war with Russia and Ukraine, they were talking about how is it that Ukraine are doing so well in the early stages of that conflict. And he talked about this quote from Napoleon, he quoted it, and he's basically saying that if people believe in what you're trying to achieve and they really thoroughly believe in the leaders, that you've got your back, you will get that discretionary effort and you'll get that belief. And actually what he's saying is an army depends on its size, training and experience and morale. Morale is worth more than any of the other factors combined. Diluted and boiled down, what that means is morale to the physical is 3 to 1. That's how important it is. And you can see the problems with morale nationally. So how do we, as a group, a collective, in our senior positions, with the influence we've got, influence that morale? Because we can't just say it's all too difficult and there's a lot of stuff happening. That's just not good enough. It's the privilege of leadership. And how do you impose, what's our DNA on that national picture? You can see the other quote there on the actual Napoleon slide, a leader is a dealer in hope. And that's that positivity. If I've got time, I'll come to that in a second. So, next slide is, and Cumbria colleagues will recognise some of the quotes here. What I do is, on a presentation, I collect the anonymous quotes. I don't embarrass people, but I'll have the anonymous quotes, and we'll talk about an issue. So, the quotes were taken about 3 weeks before the inspection, where Cumbria got those excellence sorts of gradings, which we're very, very proud of. And to be honest, we're very close to doing even better, but that's another story. So 2 or 3 weeks before that, leading up to that, we'd have the biggest structural reorganisation of Cumbria since the 1970s. Transformational change. New performance framework, new corporate governance framework. We've done all sorts. I'll come on to some of them in a minute. The metrics were going through the roof. The quality was there as well. It was looking really good. So I pose the question, have we got a high-performance culture? And everyone goes, well, we're doing really well. We're doing really well. I think everything's happening. Quote a load of figures, said, okay, let's look at the next slide, because these are quotes that you've said in the last 60 days. They're all from you. So the top one is from a chief inspector who runs an academy, or was till he left the police service. It's not my job description to go to response briefings. So this person who's in charge of young and service officers coming through, bear in mind, I think is it 33, something like that, of all officers have got 5 years or less service. So it's not my job to go to response briefings. So you've got the people that are coming through the academy onto response, student officers, and they don't feel, they feel it's below them to go for a 20-minute briefing and have a cup of coffee with the staff and say, how's it going? How can I help you? Another one from a superintendent. I shouldn't be worrying about performance. I should be focused on strategy. So I've got this vision of them on a magic carpet, eating overnight oats or something. What do you mean? What are you on about? Focused on strategy. So I said to the person, I said, give me your 3 favourite strategies then. And of course, they're looking at you and think, what does do strategy mean? Performance is public safety. All performances in the police is public safety. If you're late delivering the milk, someone doesn't get milk on the cornflakes. If you're late in the police response to call, someone is going to be carrying on getting sexually abused or burgled. It's a different situation. Performance is public safety. I know you're all incredibly busy because of the focus on performance. I mean, that's just, he can't make us do stop and search. Stop and search have gone from 150 a month to 850. And the Home Office challenges to say there's problems with Cumbria's figures, it can't be right. I said, no, they're correct, there's just been a big increase. It's the biggest increase in the country at the time. A police officer that doesn't do stop and search and think that's their role is like a postal worker with an aversion to envelopes. It's just not a good business model. It's not going to work out. So we go through all of these things and we talk them through it. I'm glad they didn't get, oh, here's a crack of this. I'm glad they didn't get through the paper sift. They're just not ready. The person that put them through into the paper sift and signed it was the person that said that. Do you get what I'm saying? We don't want to be, people are looking at us to say what kind of leaders we are. They are judging us all the time. They want us to give them confidence that we've got the back. So, last one, let's go to the last one. We need to know when the next promotion process has been advertised, so we know when to start preparing. It's not the golden hour, it's the golden year. The gun went off, CPD is continuous, okay? So I said to the person who said that, they put their hands up, I said, you're exactly the type of person that I don't want us to apply for the next promotion process, because that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. Ridiculous. Anyway, so there's our grades. So you come in here as a chief constable. What you want is a vision, okay? So I've got to set the direction of the force. If I go over, by the way, let me. If we go for time, please tell me. So that's mine. It's dear to me. The first one's contempt for criminality. It's really, really simple. I didn't want anything vanilla. I didn't want we're vaguely disappointed with people who crime. I didn't want that. I didn't want backing paper on a wall. On a wall. I wanted it. We're not having this. If you commit crime, you're in play. End of. It's low level, high level. Not interested. You put yourself in play. Life's tough, but you've made those choices. We're the police. We enforce the law. Compassion for victims. If you lose your compassion, you're half a police officer. Community focus, you've got to do what the public want. We've got to listen to the public. Neighbourhood pledge and neighbourhood policing is obviously right in the middle of that. And finally, care for colleagues. So, if you can't look after yourself and your colleagues, how can we expect anyone to look after the community? That's really, really important. And that includes inclusion, well-being, workloads. So underneath that, I have a thing called the Chief's Promise. And the Chief's Promise, I'll come on to it in a minute, but it's a load of promises we've made, tangible things where it's almost like you said we did, but quite chunky stuff. It's not about we got you more spoons or we got another drink, more a water machine. It's big stuff that we've tried to make a difference. And I'll tell you how we went about that. How we did it, excellence in the communities once again, excellence in the basics. That's come from the State of Policing report in 2022. The HMIC are giving you tactical advice in that report. They're saying, get excellence in the basics right. We want positive leadership. We don't want to condition people to say, you're now entering the book of Revelations. Give them some hope, find a way. Innovation and prevention, and then the four values at the end, PIII are just mine. Public son of a nurse and a police officer, chief constable there, public there. I'm happy with that pecking order. I'm happy with the food chain when I see it. Privileged to do it. And then integrity, I'm not going to explain that one. Inclusivity in its widest sense, and industry. I don't care whether you pull the oar with both hands, up the shaft, low down, one hand, left hand, not interested. But a public servant, you've got to pull on the oar, okay? So that's the message I give to sort of Cumbria and Merseyside. So very, very straightforward. We're in the process now of revamping that for Merseyside, obviously. We need to do it at warp speed because Michelle and HMIC colleagues are with us in February, so we need to be ready. Okay. So, right, I'm not anti-dog. I've got a dog called Rosie. She's lovely. She's a Border Terrier. I'm not anti-dog, okay? They're welfare dogs, okay? If my wife leaves me this weekend, okay, if she packs a bag and leaves me and finally moves out and says, you've spent too much time at work, she's well within rights, and she leaves. If I stroke that fella on the left there, she's not coming back, don't you? You know that, don't you? They're not magic dogs. I think there's a degree of people who think they've become magic. Honestly, they have a place and have a fantastic role. But when you speak to Andy Rhodes, he will say, well-being and morale, people forget the 50% of it, and that's the operational part of it. So how many crime reports are you carrying? What is the crime allocation policy? How many times have your duties been altered? And that's something we've really wrestled with in Cumbria, and we will do in Merseyside. It's very, very difficult, particularly, say, Merseyside now, you've got to take £31 million out of the organisation and improve performance when we've got on the high risk register, we've got response and patrol and investigations at 1 and 2. Can you see where that's a problem in excellence of the basics? If you call the police, do they answer? Are they polite? Do you get the correct graded response in terms of people turning up? Will they investigate properly? And will they keep you updated? That's a problem. We've got to deal with that and take 31 million out. So we're looking for strategic problem solvers and leaders. That's what I'm saying. These are what they call calm, non-judgmental companions. There's a great I'm not anti-welfare dog, but somehow, when you've got morale issues as high as we have in the country, please don't put the welfare dogs in without having done some tangible, meaty stuff first. That's all I'm saying. That's my personal take on it. And these are the things I've tried to do. I can't go through all of these, and there's too much time. But these are the things we say I've given to colleagues in Cumbria and we'll do into Merseyside. These are the things that people asked for and we've done. So things like the visibility rota, it's about 5 down on the left, okay? Some people are back to the floor. Any force I'm in, I want a gimmick-free zone. No one on juggling, no unicycles. Do you want stuff that works, okay? So the visibility rota in Cumbria was every inspector goes to a response briefing once a week, okay? That's 20 minutes, cup of coffee. Fine, not leading by email, actually in the briefing, find out what's going on. Further to which, they're also required to do a full tour of duty every 6 weeks. Now, I don't know where that's up to now, but that's what I enforced rigidly and actually audited it to make sure people were doing it. So when the HMIC came and talked about visibility, we'll say, this is audited and we can prove it. You saw a real change in visibility and people thinking, these are really listening here. And then you're talking about the things you've done. So, you know, pace setter meetings, won't go into all that. But the roads police and the firearms was one unit in Cumbria. We split them up because they were dual function. They spent most of the time training. So we split them up, moved them to the eastern flank of the county, put them on the M6 rat run, Liverpool up to Scotland. You can imagine the Irish funding went through the absolute roof. So little old Cumbria was about third or fourth in terms of assets recovery incentivisation scheme recoveries in the country. I got an agreement to put that money back in with the PCC to do operational stuff. So the things that went, Keeler coats, targeted variable payments for response officers on one side of the county, where BAE were offering money just to go for the interview. Think of the attrition rates. 5 drones, increased taser courses, training at the weekend, more flexibility there, vehicle leasing scheme, redaction tooling, mobile ANPR, lifetime body-worn camera, where you can do a stop check and your supervisor can watch it lifetime and guide you through it. Think of the inexperienced officers under 5-year service, quite handy. Also good for legitimacy and integrity, ethical policing. And then increasing economic crime as well. There's more, but you can see they're meaty things that I can go back and say, this is the fruits of your labour that we're putting back into operational policing to make your job easier. That's the approach. And there's many more of them here. You can see all the stuff that went on. Using the staff networks as a tactical advisor. We don't do anything. We don't do anything without speaking to staff networks. What's your view? What's your perspective on this change? The unions and and the Federation and the Police Supers Association, absolutely key on the challenge panels. We're thinking of doing this. We're going to do it quick, but challenges now. Is it the right thing to do? We've got an opportunity to modify it at this stage. Tell us what you think. And then I suppose the last bit really is Cumbria punched above its weight in terms of national influence. So I've got obviously D.CC, a had response portfolio. Johnny Blackwell had the Digital Academy. Michelle had Mossova, and Louise Kane, who I managed to nick from Merseyside, was on the performance. So for a small force, we were really punching above our weight. So the stars aligned, but it was a moment in time when you got all of these things bubbled up. The HMIC came, and it was choreographed perfectly. But it's a fight to keep it, you know that. And it undulates in terms of, and that's the problem. You've got to keep going. I suppose the other thing is about the leaders that are coming through. I talked about the inexperience. This is a slide I give. I won't go through this, what the 4 feathers is. It's Harry Faversham. It's a courage thing, an old film. It is a bit of a joke, but are you ready for promotion? Do you understand the next rank? So have you planned your promotion, or is it something, oh, you've just seen something that's been advertised and it's like 6 weeks' time I'll throw an application in? How much have you committed to that? What's your action plan? The biggest one in there is the fourth bullet point for me. The biggest test, I think, if someone's ready for promotion at the sergeant level is, an inspector actually, is do you have the courage to say I, rather than the chief inspector wants us to do this, the inspector's asked us to do, the chief's on about stop and search again, he's banging on about it before. Do you have the confidence and the good sense to say, today, colleagues, what I want you to do is this. I want you to focus on this. You'll be amazed at how many people cannot say I. Not in an aggressive way, it doesn't even have to be assertive, but simply using the word I rather than putting the instruction to someone else because they don't want to take the responsibility for it. Self-reflection and CPD, really, really important. So I suppose when I walk out of here now, I'll probably think about how did they leave them there? Did they think I'm mad? Is this sufficient for a with-cause drug test? I don't know. You know, is he passionate? You know, is he too much? I don't know. I'll get some feedback from people in the, because you want to know how you come across and you're going to have to modify it in the future. It might be too much, it might be too little, I don't know. But I need to know how it lands. And that's about reflection because every briefing a sergeant does impacts on their team. So, for instance, we changed the promotion processes. So inspectors and above police staff equivalents is seen promotion and interview question. You now get the interview questions an hour before. You can make notes and take the notes in with you. The same will, an iteration of that will come to Merseyside as well. Good for neurodiversity. We want the best people, make it as fair as possible. But for the sergeants, what we're going to introduce is what we do in Cumbria is, because the standard of briefing is a briefing exercise, that interview. Not a basket exercise, a briefing where they stand up in front of people and they actually, the three people, and they give it as if they're giving a briefing on the day. Because I've seen some awful briefings where people have scurried in and not even acknowledged the team. There's people in that horseshoe of people that surround sergeants, inspectors with the relationship problems, caring responsibilities, financial difficulties. They're worried about the CPD. They're worried about the professionals. They may have had a bereavement. You've got to give them, they don't want to see a sergeant or supervisor with a face like a slapped you-know-what in front of them with a negative response. Give them some positivity. Give them something. And that's the leader we've got to breathe through. Young in service, we've got to find a way of doing that. And honest feedback, senior leaders. You know, I do give honest feedback. People in Cumbria will tell you. Someone came to me, and I always say the same thing. I didn't get through the promotion board. I've come to you for feedback. Fine. I said, we can do it three ways. I can lie and make stuff up. I can tell you some lies and some truths, or I'll just tell you the way it is and tell you it truthful. No one's ever said anything but option three. Tell me the way it is. I said, okay then. Well, you don't need to worry. You don't need to sleep at night worrying you've hit the bar. You are miles off. You're miles off because this is, but we can help you with a development plan. We'll take it serious and take them through. Anyway, positive feedback. This kind of pitch was given, Merseyside colleagues will attest to this, week last Friday at Merseyside. And basically, supers and above, police staff equivalents, first opportunity to meet me, having just started at Merseyside from Cumbria, back to my home force. Fans couldn't say no. What a privilege. Fantastic force, fantastic people, just like Cumbria. One of the questions is, there's Merseyside, 11th on the peel. 2 minutes.
We've got loads of questions to ask.
Have you? Okay. Can you get this or not? They're the quotes from Merseyside. I've pruned them down and diluted them because they're quite forceful. But what you get by asking, and I said to them is, I spoke to 73 people in preparation to come to Merseyside. You told me, I said it'd be anonymous. I'll never let you down. I'll never say who said those quotes, okay? However, I put them up on the front of the lecture theatre in Merseyside. There were more than that. Everyone in this room has said one of those comments. I can't unhear that. And some of them were more far damning than that. These are the light ones. I said, so you've got an issue and you want to talk about it. As a chief, what do you want me to do about it? You've got 15 minutes to go and get a cup of coffee and read them. When you come back, you simply must have a view at the rank of superintendent. You must have a view, okay? Tell me what you want me to do. And that's how it went, and it was a good day. These are a load of things we've done already. Within a week of being there, there's a full review. We'll have BCUs in by next April. We'll be at warp speed, and we'll see how it goes. I think I've run out of time. Last one. If you can take anything away, the relationship between morale and leadership is absolutely critical, and you've got to keep on challenging yourself. And I get it wrong a lot. It's a perpetual challenge, because if you reach outstanding, it doesn't stay there. You've got to fight to keep it there, and it's a fight. Frankly, I was losing. You know, and the final point is the pivotal role of the PCSA. You've got a massive part here, massive. Your volunteers, I'm really grateful for putting yourself on offer and doing what you do. What you do in terms of the conference is fantastic for networking, exchanging ideas, but policy, support, and the help you've given me, I can't thank you enough. Thanks for listening.